was gonna buy some slushies at the gas station, but the slushie machine was broken. But I actually managed to find these, so we're gonna use them. We're making a slushie candy jelly, and I'm using this portable pot. This is what I got. It's basically an ice slushie, only it's not frozen. But we're gonna be heating it up anyway, so we don't need it to be frozen. The portable pot is all set up and ready to use. Now let's pour the melted slushie juice. Now we're gonna pour the melted squeeze candy. We're gonna pour a little bit of water. Now we're gonna add 2 cups of sugar that I got from the gas station. I added some food coloring because it didn't look red enough. And I let it cook for 30 minutes and now it looks like a syrup. We're letting it cool off so it doesn't burn this plastic container we're gonna put it in. And then once we pour it inside, we're gonna freeze it. We're gonna freeze it for about 24 hours. Okay, it's actually been a week. I've been letting this freeze for about 8 days. Now let's see if it actually turned into a honey jelly. I think I didn't boil it enough because it's not crunchy when you bite into it. It tastes pretty good. I'll give it a 8 out of 10. It's not that bad. I got 2 prime bottles. I got the Dodgers edition and the Glowberry edition. We're going to be turning them into honey jelly candy, but we're not going to be using any honey. We're going to be making them using 2 electrical pots. First, we're going to pour them into these pots. Now, don't throw away these bottles because we're going to be using them to pour the honey jelly inside them. Now, we're going to be adding 2 cups of sugar to each pot. Mix them up so we don't get them confused. We're going to add just a tiny bit of food coloring. Okay, they're ready. They look like a syrup. Now we're just going to let them cool off so that they don't melt the bottle when we pour them inside the bottle. And then we're going to freeze them for 24 hours. Here they are, they're all frozen. They actually froze solid. I think I boiled them for too long. So we're gonna let them sit for a little bit. Okay, I let them defrost for about an hour. It took forever just to squeeze it out, but let's go ahead and give it a taste test. It actually doesn't really taste like anything. Kind of feels like a chewy version of a push pop, if you know what candy that is. Doesn't really have flavor, so I'm gonna give it a 1 out of 10. This is all I can squeeze out. It's actually really hard. It's like really hard to chew. It gets stuck in your teeth. I'm gonna give it a 1 out of 10. It doesn't taste bad. It just doesn't really taste like anything. They both don't really taste like anything. I got this pumpkin spice frappuccino from Starbucks. Let's see if we can actually turn this into a honey jelly. We're gonna be using this electric pot. I've never made a honey jelly out of an actual shake, so I don't know if this is gonna work. We're gonna be adding 4 cups of sugar. Mix it up. Okay, it's done. This is how it looks. It turned into a syrup, but the syrup does look a little weird. I'm not gonna lie though, it actually smells pretty good. Now we're letting it cool off for an hour so it doesn't melt the plastic of this water bottle. And then we're gonna be putting it in this water bottle and we're gonna be freezing it overnight. Okay, you guys, I think this might be a fail. So I let it sit out for an hour and it's still frozen solid. It turned into ice, so it did not turn into a honey jelly. Okay, I let it defrost for 1 more hour and look, it's actually working. I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. It's good, but it's actually really sweet. And it kind of feels like sand. We're making a Sprite honey jelly, but we're not using any honey. We're going to be using just the soda and sugar, and that's how we're going to make the honey jelly. Okay, we're going to use this little pot. We're going to add the soda, and then we're going to add the sugar. We're going to add 2 cups of the Sprite. Now we're going to need 4 cups of sugar to make the Sprite syrup. Mix it up. Now we're gonna heat it up until it turns clear and it looks like a syrup. Okay, it's done. It's supposed to look like this. Now we're just gonna let it cool off so that it doesn't mess up the bottle when we add it to the bottle. Came out looking a little yellow, but it should work now. Let's freeze it. I froze it for 24 hours. Here's the Sprite bottle. It still looks kind of yellow, but it's still kind of transparent. It did freeze solid, so we're gonna let it defrost for a little bit, just enough for it to turn into a jelly. I'm not gonna lie, it's not that good. It's a little sweet, but doesn't really taste like anything. The syrup kind of feels like slime. It doesn't melt as fast as normal honey jelly. I'm gonna give it a 1 out of 10. It's just frozen Sprite sugar water. It's not all that good either. We're making a Coca-Cola honey jelly, but we're not using any honey. We're just gonna be using some sugar and just 1 bottle of Coca-Cola. First, we're gonna make Coca-Cola syrup with actual Coca-Cola and sugar. First, we're gonna add 2 cups of Coca-Cola. We added 2 cups of Coca-Cola to a pot, and now we're gonna add 4 cups of sugar. Mix it up. Now we're gonna heat it up until it's transparent and it looks like a syrup. It's done, and this is how it looks. Now we're just gonna let it cool off. That way it doesn't melt the bottle when we pour it inside. Here is the Coca-Cola jelly. I let it freeze for about 24 hours. It did freeze solid, so we're gonna let it defrost for a little bit, just enough for it to be a jelly. Here's the Coca-Cola bottle. I let it defrost for about an hour, and it's still really hard to squeeze out from the bottle. Yeah, this one's gonna be a 0 out of 10. I think I overcooked it or I burned it. It came out really bitter. It's not good at all. It does taste like Coca-Cola, but it's like super bitter. So making an actual honey jelly out of Coca-Cola does work, but it's not good at all. It tastes really bitter and it kind of feels like slime. I think I overcooked it. We're gonna make some edible sour slime. First, we gotta take the little leaves off. We take the first layer of skin off. Now we're just gonna remove the skin. We remove the skin and now we're gonna cut it into little pieces and then we're gonna put it in a pot. Now we're adding 2 cups of sugar. 1, 2. Then we're adding 2 cups of water. We add 1/4 of a cup of corn syrup. Now we just boil it until it becomes a simple syrup. The syrup is done. Now we just remove the skin. To make it sour, we're gonna add 1 tablespoon of citric acid. It's all cooled off. Now let's fill up some of these little bottles. Let's give the sour slime a taste test. Yup, it's actually pretty good, but now let's freeze it and let's see if it passes the frozen test. It looked like they froze solid. Okay, never mind, it did work, it just doesn't look clear anymore. Sour slime candy tastes better frozen. I give it a 9 out of 10. We're turning the prime drink into a jelly candy or a honey jelly, but we're not going to be using honey. Instead, we're making our own mixture from scratch. We're going to go with the white prime drink, which is Metamoon flavor, which I don't know what flavor that is, but we're going to be turning it into a jelly. First, we're going to pour a cup of the drink into a pan. Then we're adding 2 cups of sugar and 1 tablespoon of corn syrup. We're then going to boil it until it becomes a thick syrup consistency. We then quickly cool it off in really, really cold water. Place the syrup we made into the bottle. We then just freeze it overnight and your prime jelly candy is done. I overfroze mine, so I ran it under some hot water. But it worked. It was able to turn into a frozen jelly and the flavor was all right. I still didn't know what the flavor was, but it was pretty sweet. I'll give it a 5 out of 10. This time we're turning the pink prime drink into a frozen honey jelly or frozen jelly candy. But this time we're making it extremely sour because the last one we made was just sweet. So I'm adding a couple of toxic waste candies to the mixture. I'm then adding a cup of the prime drink and 2 cups of sugar. I then boil the ingredients until they become a thick syrup consistency. I then quickly cool it off with some really cold water. And to help the jelly look really cool when it comes out of the bottle, I added some edible glitter. After that, I placed it into the prime bottle and then I froze it for 24 hours. And then it was done. It was a little tough to squeeze out, but it did work and it actually turned into a frozen honey jelly. And it actually came out pretty good. It was actually sour, but not too sour. And it also makes pretty good ooze tube candy. Today we're turning prime energy into candy. And this is really easy because we're only using sugar, water, and some of these prime energy go packets. We're going to be boiling 2 cups of water, 1 cup of the prime energy liquid, and then 1 little pack of the prime go packets. We're going to boil it until it turns into a syrupy, thick, gooey liquid. Then we're going to quickly cool it down in some really cold water. Then we're going to put it back inside the prime can, throw it in the freezer for about 24 hours. Then after that, the candy should be done and you just have to squeeze it out of the can. I was going to add citric acid, but I forgot to add it. So the candy wasn't very good because it wasn't very sour. I give it a 5 out of 10. I replicated this candy right here and I made my own version. It's an icy squeeze candy. It's really similar to ooze tube candy, which is basically an extremely sour syrup candy inside a little squeeze bottle. I made an extremely sour watermelon flavor using 1 whole watermelon. First, I'm extracting the watermelon juice from the watermelon. Then I'm going to be boiling a cup of that juice with 2 cups of sugar and 2 tablespoons of citric acid. Once the mixture turns into a syrup consistency, I then put the mixture in some ice and let it cool down. I then place it into a little squeeze bottle and the candy actually turned out pretty good. Tastes like watermelon and really sour. I'm going to be turning this watermelon into a frozen honey jelly or jelly candy. It also makes a great ooze tube candy, but we're making it blue, so we're going to be adding this blueberry soda to the watermelon. This way we're adding blueberry flavor to the mixture and it becomes blue. But they're going to strain it because we only want the juice. We're then going to boil 1 cup of the juice we just strained, 2 cups of sugar, and then 1 tablespoon of citric acid because we're trying to make it really sour. We're then going to boil it until it becomes a thick syrup consistency. We're then quickly cooling it off with some really cold water. And it's done. The syrup to make frozen honey jelly is done. If you freeze it overnight, it's going to turn into a honey jelly candy. But you can also eat it as is, and it makes great ooze tube candy. It's actually good and sour. I'll give it a 9 out of 10. Okay, we're going to be trying these 3 different flavor Starburst packets as a frozen syrup jelly. Okay, so I got 3 different flavors. I got strawberry, blue raspberry, and cherry. I feel like all these flavored drinks always use the same flavors. Let's see if they taste different. We're going to be mixing them with water. The colors do end up looking a little different than all the other flavors I do. Now we're just going to freeze them for a couple hours. Out of the 3, I think the cherry was the best one. The one that was not good at all was the strawberry, but I think I just don't like strawberry flavor. For this video, we're going to be trying the Skittles Variety Pack Sticks. We're doing another syrup jelly. This time, we're only going to be trying 3 of these flavors. We're skipping strawberry because I feel like all these powdered drinks always have strawberry. But we're going to be mixing it up this time because we're going to be using these little bottles right here. But let me tell you why we're using these little bottles. We're going to be adding some sour Halloween Skittles. Since they're Skittles flavor, we're going to be adding actual Skittles to them. Let's add them to the little barrel. A little bit of corn syrup this time. We're just gonna freeze them for about 24 hours. Here they are. I actually don't freeze for like 3 days. I forgot all about them. Okay, so this one's green apple, grape, and orange. This is corn syrup, so we can't eat a lot of it. So we're just going to squeeze it and have a little whisk. So these actually make good syrup jellies. Not the orange one though. Wasn't very good. I had froze these the other day and I thought they were going to turn into honey jelly. Anyways, I saw this at the store and I had to get it. They have grape, strawberry, and cherry flavor. But anyways, I'm going to be turning them into a syrup jelly. I'm only going to be using corn syrup. Anyways, let's get our little bottles ready. Now we're going to put the drink mixes into these little containers so that we can easily mix them with water. Adding a tiny bit of water on each one of them. Now we just add the corn syrup to the bottles and then we freeze them. Okay, it's 24 hours later and here they are. Let's have a little wisp of the strawberry one. Squeeze it out. The cherry one. Grape. Usually these are very satisfying to squeeze, but for some reason these were kind of liquidy. The only good one was the cherry. The other ones just tasted like syrup. Okay, we're going to be trying another variety pack of flavored drinks. Packet flavored drinks, but this time it's going to be Skittles tropical flavors. Flavors are going to be mango tangelo, strawberry starfruit, kiwi lime, and pineapple passion fruit. And we're going to be using these little bottles again. Let's see how they taste as a frozen syrup jelly. We got to mix them with water first because these don't mix very well with syrup. Pour it in the little bottle. Here they are. I'm hoping they mix pretty well. We're going to be freezing them for 24 hours. It's the next day, but we have to go ahead and hurry because it's hot outside and these are going to melt. That was perfect. I don't know, these weren't all that good. The only good one was the pineapple passion fruit. I don't like cotton candy, but I found this Kool-Aid one, so I'm going to mix it with some Kool-Aid syrup and maybe it'll taste good. But look how watery it is. I'm going to have to heat it up and condense it. And here's the cotton candy. It tastes pretty good. It tastes like blueberry. We're going to heat it up into a thicker syrup. It's all done. Now we're going to freeze it in this bottle. I froze it for 24 hours and it froze solid. It tastes pretty well. It tastes like cherry Kool-Aid. It just doesn't freeze very well to have that satisfying honey squeeze. These are limited edition, so I had to grab them. This one is pumpkin spice, and this one is candy corn. And look, they even come with edible glitter. I love pumpkin spice. We're gonna freeze it, but I don't know if it's gonna work, because look how runny it is. We're gonna add a bunch of Halloween-themed sprinkles. But we're gonna make two versions. One is gonna be pure pumpkin spice, and we're gonna add some corn syrup on the other one. We're gonna see if it turns into syrup jelly. 7 hours later. Okay, you can already tell that the pumpkin spice did not freeze. Yeah, it didn't work. We'll try the corn syrup one. You just have to add corn syrup so you can actually make a frozen syrup jelly with this pumpkin spice syrup.